It was my first year of university. I had just finished unpacking my things, my family had left, and I was ready to start a new chapter. Later that same day, my roommate arrived. From the moment I met him, I knew something was off. His name was Dale. When I introduced myself as Dan and reached out for a handshake, he hesitated, staring at my hand as if he didn't understand the gesture. Then, with an awkward laugh, he gave me the weakest, most lifeless handshake I'd ever received. I had to ask for his name since he didn't offer it. Dale barely spoke, answering my small talk with short yes or no responses, sometimes forcing a stiff smile or a strange chuckle. Within minutes, we had both retreated into silence, each sitting on our beds with our laptops. I already wanted a new roommate. That first night, after exploring campus and meeting some other students, I returned to find Dale in the same position I had left him, staring at his laptop screen. "What's up, Dale?" I asked. He didn't respond. It wasn't surprising. It was 9:30 and I had nothing else to do, so I shut off my lamp and went to bed. I didn't fall asleep right away. Dale was still on his laptop until 3 in the morning. When he finally shut it, I quickly drifted off, only to wake up within the hour. The blinds had been opened, letting moonlight spill into the room, and there, illuminated by the pale light, was Dale, sitting on the edge of his bed, looking at me. I sat up, rubbing my eyes. "Dale, what the hell are you doing?" He whispered, "Sorry," and lay down. The next morning, I woke to find Dale already gone. It was the first time I had seen him leave the room. That day was the first Saturday of the semester, meaning campus orientation and various activities. As my group passed by the school gardens, I overheard 2 students whispering, "What is that kid doing?" I followed their gaze and saw Dale. He was sitting in the dirt behind a patch of bushes, rubbing the bark of a tree with his hand. The orientation leader didn't seem to notice, so the group kept moving. I mentioned to the 2 students that he was my roommate, hoping to spark conversation. They exchanged glances and awkwardly apologized, unsure whether to laugh or not, but we did. I ended up making friends with those 2, and we planned to meet up later that night. When I returned to my dorm, I was relieved to learn that the school had found me a new roommate. Things were looking up. That evening, I left to meet my new friends, but when I returned to the dorm, I found Dale sitting in the desk chair facing the door. "Oh, hey," I said, startled. "What's up?" "Nothing," he replied in a monotone voice. I sat on my bed, opened my laptop, and realized I had forgotten to lock it. A strange feeling crept over me as I noticed something unusual. My emails had been opened, emails I was certain I hadn't read. Several of my personal folders had been accessed as well. I turned to Dale. "Did you go through my laptop?" He immediately snapped. "No." His response was too quick, too defensive. I knew he was lying, but I didn't press the issue. I was leaving the next day anyway. As I reached for my pajamas, I noticed something else. My clothes had been moved. I knew they weren't in the same order I had packed them, but I stayed quiet. Just one more night, I told myself. At some point in the middle of the night, I woke up again, this time to the sound of a zipper. I sat up and saw Dale crouched over my bag, rummaging through it. I turned on my lamp. "Dale, what are you doing?" He looked up, wide-eyed. "I think you have my toothbrush by mistake." It was a weak excuse, but I didn't push him. I knew something was seriously wrong with him, and I didn't want to escalate the situation. The next morning, I moved into my new dorm and met my new roommate. He wasn't the most social guy, but compared to Dale, he was great. I felt like I could finally relax, but that relief was short-lived. Sunday night, after a good conversation with my new roommate, we turned out the lights and went to sleep. At some off hour of the night, I woke up again, this time to a strange clicking noise. It was subtle but consistent, happening every few seconds. I got up, my heart pounding, and tried to pinpoint the sound. It wasn't coming from inside the room. It was coming from the other side of the door. The nightlight in the common area outside our dorm was always on. I looked through the peephole and saw a figure standing there. Their head was lowered, their face obscured. The tiny clicking noise continued. Then I realized it was coming from the doorknob. Someone was trying to unlock our door. I grabbed my phone and dialed campus security. They arrived within 5 minutes. When I finally felt it was safe, I opened the door. And there, in cuffs, was Dale. I told security everything, that he had been my old roommate, that he had gone through my belongings, and that now he was trying to break into my new dorm. They took him away. I never saw him again. I don't know if he was suspended or expelled, but he disappeared from campus after that night. Years passed. I made friends, had normal college experiences, and moved on. But I never forgot Dale. One weekend in October, some friends and I decided to hang out at the school's nature preserve by the lake. There was a clearing on the far side of the lake where students sometimes lit small fires, away from the view of campus security. That night, we brought some beers, started a fire, and had what we called a bro chat. As the night went on, we drank and laughed, our conversation growing louder. Then one of my friends suddenly went quiet. "Shh," he whispered. We all stopped talking. The sound of leaves crunching echoed in the distance. We panicked, thinking it might be campus security, and quickly hid our beers. But the footsteps didn't seem like an officer's approach. It was just one person, slowly moving in the darkness. Then a tree branch snapped, not too far away. We sat frozen, barely breathing. The sound of someone circling our campsite became undeniable, and then something landed in our fire pit with a loud thud. A branch. We jumped to our feet. My chest tightened as I scanned the darkness. And then we saw him. A figure stood just beyond the glow of the fire, motionless, watching. The firelight flickered, briefly illuminating his face. Dale. Pure terror shot through me. Without hesitation, we ran, sprinting through the woods, crashing through the brush, not stopping until we reached campus. We never looked back. When we finally did, Dale was gone. I never saw him again. But even now, years later, I still feel like he's watching.